5 years, 60 months, 1,847 days of waking up, putting on this tie, drinking this overpriced coffee, and transferring $500 into an investment account that seems to grow slower than my receding hairline. And you know what I have to show for it? $47,823.15. I'm Barry, and I'm here to tell you something that every finance guru conveniently forgets to mention. The first $100,000 isn't just hard, it's psychological warfare designed to break you. But here's the twist nobody talks about. Once you survive this financial boot camp, the same math that tortured you for nearly a decade becomes your most loyal employee, working 24/7 while you sleep, while you eat, while you're watching reruns, wondering if this whole capitalism thing is just an elaborate prank. So grab your coffee, preferably cheaper than mine, because we're about to dive into why the first 100K is hell, why 650K is your liberation day, and why $1 million might not make you rich, but it'll definitely make you free. Let me paint you a picture of what nobody tells you when you start investing. Year 1. You scrape together $6,000. That's $500 a month, which doesn't sound like much until you realize it's the cost of that new TV you wanted, those concert tickets, or approximately 15 trips to Chipotle with guacamole. You transfer it religiously into your index fund. You check it every day like a psychopath, and by December 31st, your account shows $6,410. Congratulations, you made $410. That's 7% annual return. You know what else is 7%? The amount of enthusiasm you have left for this whole financial independence thing. Because in your head, you did the math. At this rate, to get to $100,000, you'll need to keep this up for, wait for it, over 12 years. 12 years! You could have a baby, raise them through elementary school, and teach them to say compound interest before you hit that first milestone. And here's the brutal truth that makes year 2 even worse. You're essentially doing all the heavy lifting. Out of that $6,410, $6,000 is your money that you earned, saved, and sacrificed lattes for. Only $410 is the market working for you. That's 6.4% contribution from compound interest. You're basically dragging a boulder up a mountain while compound interest is standing there with a tiny pebble saying, "I'm helping!" But let's fast forward, because this is where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean slightly less soul-crushing. Year 7.9. Something magical happens. You started with 500, then bumped it up every time you got a pathetic 3% raise at work, transferring it like a robot. Through market crashes in 2008, through the pandemic panic of 2020, through every talking head on TV telling you the sky is falling. You've contributed $47,000 of your own hard-earned money. Money you could have spent on a decent used car or a really mediocre boat. And then, one random Tuesday, you open your app and see it. $100,000.13. And before you ask, no, the equity in your house doesn't count. You can't buy groceries with drywall unless you sell the place. We're talking about liquid cash. The 13 cents feels like the universe mocking you. But whatever, that changes everything. Out of that 100K, about 70,000 is your blood, sweat, and tears. But the other 30,000? That's pure compound interest, baby. It doesn't sound like a takeover yet, but here's the secret. That 30,000 is now earning money alongside you. You finally have a teammate. You just crossed the event horizon. You know what's crazy? From 100,000 to 200,000 takes only 5 more years. Not 8 years, not 12 years, 5 years. The math that was your enemy for nearly a decade just became your best friend. At $100,000, your portfolio grows by about $8,000 per year just from returns. That's almost a month of salary showing up for free. You didn't work overtime for it, you didn't sell plasma, you didn't start a side hustle selling essential oils to your relatives. The money just appeared. Because compound interest finally has enough ammunition to do some damage. Now let me tell you about the milestone that actually changed my life. Not 1 million, not 2 million, but $650,000. This is the number that Wall Street doesn't want you obsessing over, because once you understand it, you realize you don't actually need to be rich to stop caring about your boss's opinion. Here's the math. $650,000 invested at 8% annual returns generates $52,000 per year. Now, before you say 8% is optimistic, the S&P 500 has averaged about 10% annually since 1926, so 8% is actually conservative after we account for inflation. $52,000 per year. You know what the median household income in America is right now? About $78,000 before taxes. After taxes, insurance, and your 401k contribution, most people take home around $50,000 to $55,000. Do you see what just happened? At $650K, your investments are generating nearly as much passive income as the median American earns by selling 40 hours of their life every single week. You're not rich. You can't buy a yacht. You're not flying private. But you know what you can do? You can tell your boss no without your stomach dropping. You can take a job you actually like that pays less. You can quit and live off your investments while you figure out what you really want to do with the one life you get on this bizarre planet. This is what financial people call coast fire, the point where you could literally stop saving completely, let your investments grow, and still retire comfortably. But here's what I did. I kept working, kept saving, and watched my net worth grow by $52,000 per year without me doing anything. It's like having a clone of yourself working a full-time job while you binge Netflix. That's not wealth, that's freedom. And freedom, my friends, is worth more than any Lamborghini. So let's talk about the mythical $1 million, because we need to kill some fantasies before they kill your motivation. When I finally hit $1 million at age 43, yes, it took that long because I started late and made every mistake possible. You know what I felt? Not euphoria, not vindication. I felt relief, like I'd been holding my breath for 15 years and could finally exhale. Because here's the dirty secret about $1 million in 2025. With inflation, it's like having $500,000 when our parents were young. It doesn't make you rich, it makes you secure. But security is actually more valuable than people realize. At $1 million, a decent year in the market, let's say 10%, means you make $100,000 without lifting a finger. Bad year? Maybe you lose 8%. That's $80,000 evaporated. But here's the thing. You've seen enough market crashes by this point that you don't panic anymore. You've been through 2008, you've been through 2020. You've watched your portfolio drop 30% and come roaring back. You're a battle-hardened veteran, and psychologically, something shifts. You stop checking your portfolio daily. You stop caring about the news headlines. Because you know the secret. Time in the market beats timing the market. Every single time. From 1 million to 1.5 million takes about 4 to 5 years if you just sit there and do nothing. From 1.5 to 2 million? Another 4 years. The jumps get easier because the percentages are working on bigger numbers. This is why wealthy people keep getting wealthier. Not because they're smarter or work harder, but because they crossed that first horrible, soul-crushing $100,000 threshold and survived. Now let me tell you how you actually do this without inheriting money or winning the lottery, because I know half of you are thinking, cool story, Barry, but I can barely afford groceries. $500 per month is not chump change. That's real money. But let's break it down. That's $125 per week. For most people, that's eating out twice less, making coffee at home instead of stopping at Starbucks, or canceling 3 streaming services you forgot you had. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's possible. And before you tell me your rent is too high and wages are stagnant, I know. I live in the same economy you do. But here's the choice. You can be broke now and broke later, or you can be tight on money now and comfortable later. There's no third option where you maintain your current lifestyle forever and also build wealth. The universe doesn't work that way. And about market crashes. Yes, the market will crash. Multiple times during your journey. In fact, statistically, you'll live through about 7 to 10 significant corrections or bear markets in your lifetime. And every single time, people will panic sell, swear off stocks forever, and buy gold or Bitcoin or whatever the panic trade is that year. Don't be those people. When the market crashes, your $500 per month buys more shares of the index fund. You're buying stocks on sale. When it inevitably recovers, and it always has in the entire history of American markets, those shares you bought at the bottom will be worth significantly more. Dollar cost averaging through a crash is literally the only time in life where buying something for cheaper is somehow scarier than buying it at full price. Here's what I wish someone had told me on day one, standing in my cubicle with my first pathetically small investment account. The first $100,000 is supposed to feel impossible. That's not a bug in your plan. That's math working exactly as designed. You are doing the work now so that compound interest can do the work later. You're building the foundation of a machine that will eventually run on autopilot. Every person who is currently financially independent went through this exact same grind. They ate the same cheap meals. They drove the same old car. They said no to the same vacations. The difference between them and everyone else isn't intelligence or luck. It's that they didn't quit in year 3 when it felt pointless, or year 5 when their friends were buying new trucks, or year 7 when they could have taken that money for a down payment on a fancier apartment. They understood that wealth is built in decades, not days. And once you hit that 100K milestone, once you see that compound interest contributed more than you did, something clicks in your brain. You realize this isn't a scam or wishful thinking. It's just math, patient and inevitable. From that point on, every dollar you invest has an army of previous dollars working alongside it. Your second 100K brings friends. Your third 100K brings a whole battalion. So here's my challenge to you. Delivered from someone still sitting in a cubicle, still drinking overpriced coffee, still very much in the middle of this journey. Start today. Not next month when you get that raise, not next year when your lease is up, today. Even if it's $50 a month instead of $500. Even if you can only do it quarterly instead of monthly. The difference between someone who starts investing at 25 versus 35 isn't just 10 years. It's approximately $400,000 by retirement age, because those first 10 years are when compound interest has the most time to work its magic. If you're 35 or 45 or 55 and thinking you're too late, you're not. You're just going to have to be more aggressive with your contributions. The math still works, it just requires more discipline. Open that brokerage account today, set up automatic transfers, buy a boring index fund like VTSAX or VTI, and then, this is the hard part, ignore it. Don't check it daily. Don't panic when it drops. Don't get cocky when it rises. Just let time and mathematics do what they've done for centuries. Turn small, consistent actions into substantial wealth. I'm 8 years into this journey, and I'm exhausted. I'm annoyed. I'm skeptical that my government will still exist in the same form by the time I'm 65. But I'm also $15,000 away from that $100,000 mark that felt impossible when I started. And every day I don't quit is a day that future Barry will thank me for. That's all this is. Current you making sacrifices so future you doesn't have to eat cat food in retirement. It's not glamorous, it's not fast, and it's definitely not going to make you an overnight millionaire. But it works. The math works. The question isn't whether compound interest is real. The question is whether you're willing to suffer through the first 8 years of financial hell to reach the promised land on the other side. Your first 100K is waiting. The clock is already ticking, whether you start today or not. So you might as well start. Oh, and one more thing. If this video saved you from buying another subscription box you don't need, hit that subscribe button. Because if I'm going to suffer through this for 30 more years, I might as well take you along for the ride. Welcome to Berry Blues, where we make financial pain slightly less painful, one overpriced coffee at a time.